Do you feel an emptiness inside that nothing seems to fill? You repeat the same mistakes, conflicts, and pains without understanding why. What if I told you this isn't random? There's a clear message from your unconscious behind your suffering. Carl Jung didn't see pain as an enemy, but as a guide. This video will show why your internal conflicts aren't flaws, but urgent signs of transformation. Nobody escapes pain, and Jung had the courage to show it raw. In analytical psychology, pain is a direct call from the unconscious to stop running from yourself. It's not divine punishment or cosmic chance. It's a strategic signal saying you're off your path and need to turn inward. Ignoring it traps you in a cycle of dissatisfaction disguised as routine, shallow goals, or fake self-care. Pain doesn't just show up in big tragedies. It sneaks into daily anxieties, impatience with loved ones, emptiness after achieving something big, or a vague unease nobody gets. That's your unconscious knocking. Jung says without this discomfort, no one would seek knowledge or true personal transformation. Pain is your psyche's strategy to push you toward individuation, even if you resist. The catch? Pain aims straight at your shadow, the psychological basement where you hide what you don't want to see. Ignoring it is like driving a misaligned car, always veering off, wearing out, and wondering why the road feels so hard. Analytical psychology teaches that the more you silence pain, the louder it screams. Through emotional crises, psychosomatic illnesses, or a diffuse dissatisfaction, nothing fixes. To turn pain into a teacher, ask, what is this situation forcing me to see? Practically, track situations that cause discomfort and spot repeating internal patterns. This isn't notebook therapy, it's digging into your unconscious. To go deeper, study Jung's works like The Ego and the Unconscious or Memories, Dreams, Reflections. Pain carries symptoms of a repressed shadow begging for space. Facing it means meeting traits you'd rather deny. Selfishness, envy, fragility, arrogance. This confrontation is vital for spiritual awakening and personal transformation. Jung's shadow isn't mystical. It's the unconscious part you hide, even from yourself. It's the locked drawer of insecurities, shames, and impulses that don't match the image you project. As long as it stays locked, it leaks, influencing choices, distorting your worldview, and shaping relationships without you noticing. Facing the shadow isn't a spiritual luxury. It's structural to self-knowledge and individuation. The shadow forms from what you once deemed wrong to feel or be. A child punished for anger learns to hide it. A teen mocked for fear decides they must be invulnerable. The result? An adult life where repressed emotions sabotage decisions and explode in weak moments. In analytical psychology, the shadow isn't the enemy, but key to transformation. Practically, face it by observing overreactions, automatic judgments, and instant dislikes. Each reveals a shadow piece needing light. For example, rage at someone's confidence might echo your buried insecurity. Jung says the unconscious is theatrical, staging externally what you refuse to see internally. Rushing this process is pointless. Facing the shadow is naturally uncomfortable. It means admitting weaknesses, manipulative behaviors, or childish fears. You can dive into Jung's, the shadow archetype, or aspects of the shadow, to understand your pains aren't flaws but invitations to spiritual awakening. Facing your shadow dissolves the idealized self-image, revealing a raw, honest portrait that explains why certain situations and relationships follow the same script. Repetitive patterns aren't coincidence. They're your unconscious demanding attention. Jung explains these are clear messages, invisible scripts you wrote without realizing, replayed by life. When relationships fail the same way, financial crises repeat, or existential emptiness persists, your unconscious is shouting, "Look inside." These cycles aren't cosmic punishments or family curses. They're clues for self-knowledge and transformation. Each pattern hides an unprocessed belief, trauma, or shadow. For example, someone who believes they're unlovable unconsciously chooses partners who reinforce that, not because they enjoy suffering, but because the unconscious repeats the scene until you rewrite the script. The solution? Stop blaming the world and see patterns as mirrors of your unconscious. Jung's symbolic reading lets you shift from victim to conscious observer. Practically, review daily discomforts, and find their common thread, not magic therapy, but applied psychological investigation. We inherit beliefs, fears, and reactions from families, absorbed in their narratives. Jung's family complexes shape perception. Breaking a cycle means questioning inherited truths and understanding your unconscious. Changing patterns challenges your shadow, embracing the vulnerability of trying something new without old scripts. Jung reveals a powerful secret. True strength comes from admitting weakness. Hiding behind rigid control blocks, self-knowledge and individuation, vulnerability, allowing fear, confusion, or flaws, unlocks unconscious answers. In Jungian terms, it's not about public exposure, but courage to see yourself unfiltered, where shame or tight masks no longer fit. Practically admit internally when you're lost, scared, or clueless. The more you act invincible, the more your unconscious creates situations to shatter that illusion. Unexpected layoffs, betrayals, or midweek breakdowns. These aren't the universe conspiring against you. They're your psyche calling for a reckoning. Vulnerability is the gateway to individuation. Jung's core concept of becoming who you truly are, not who you were taught to be. It's the opposite of fitting social molds, embracing your purpose, shadow, and spiritual awakening as one psychological equation. It starts by questioning, who am I really? Answers come from confronting the unconscious, uneasy shadow talks and challenging inherited beliefs. Individuation isn't linear or comfy. It's a psychological artwork of fragments. Practically, it's living what resonates internally, not what earns applause. Saying no to shiny opportunities that betray your essence, yes to uncertain paths that feel deeply right. Jung clarifies, individuation doesn't guarantee fame, success, or acceptance, just internal coherence, purpose alignment, and unconscious connection. Individuation intensifies in relationships, where projections and conflicts reveal unknown parts of yourself. Jung says what irritates you in others reflects your shadow. Projection sticks unseen parts of you onto others, like an arrogant colleague mirroring your repressed pride or a controlling ex reflecting your fear of losing control. Relationships are a psychic theater where shadows and expectations play out. Repeated fights are attracting the same partner type. Your unconscious screams, look inward. It's not bad luck in love, but unresolved self-knowledge. Transformation begins by seeing conflicts as chances to spot hidden unconscious pieces. Practically, when emotions flare, ask, what does this say about me? Journaling symbolic triggers, as Jungian analysts suggest, unlocks spiritual awakening. Jung didn't seek perfect relationships but conscious ones, turning friction into learning. Stop resisting pain. Jung says the more you fight suffering, the more it imprisons you. Pain is a teacher, not an enemy. It becomes torture when resisted. Flowing with it means accepting its role in self-knowledge and transformation, not liking it, but stopping the fight. Resistance comes from illusions of control, believing you can dodge loss or crises. Jung reminds us crises unlock trapped unconscious material. Suffering bridges spiritual awakening, stripping masks and revealing shadows. Practically ask, what's this pain showing me? Write unsent letters, track recurring dreams, or revisit childhood memories echoing now. Jung and Dostoevsky saw suffering as no detour, but the path where change begins. Inspired by them, we created a 21-day ebook with 20 practical exercises for turning pain into a mirror and crises into conscious journeys. It's not reflections, but structured practices for confronting your shadow, revising unconscious beliefs, and rebuilding your self-relationship. A psychological transformation protocol. Find the link in the video's pinned comment. Welcoming pain hurts less than fleeing it. Instead of escaping, decode its meaning. This transformation demands inner work and emotional maturity, not social media quotes. Flowing with pain is half the path. Jung also stresses living with self-responsibility, no masks, no begging for approval. Self-knowledge isn't imagining who you'd like to be, but seeing who you are. Lights, shadows, unedited. Self-responsibility means owning your emotions, patterns, and relationships as reflections of how you handle your unconscious. Blaming family or others hands them your psyche's keys. True work starts when you stop seeking culprits and explore how you perpetuate inner conflicts externally. Living without masks means accepting not everyone will like you, and that's fine. Jung says the persona, our social facade, is needed but becomes a prison when it overshadows your essence. Living to please abandons your purpose and stifles individuation. Seeking external approval is a vice disguised as virtue. Synchronicity happens when your psyche and the external world align, like dancing mirrors. Not every butterfly is a divine sign, but living true to your purpose, not a pleasing persona, lets the unconscious manifest clues, shortcuts, or confirmations. Jung saw this as the unconscious using reality to project messages for your spiritual awakening. Practically, synchronicity is the right book appearing at the perfect time, a stranger's phrase answering an unshared doubt, or meeting someone with the key to an unknown opportunity. These emerge when transformation becomes concrete action, not when stuck in fear or self-deception. Jung didn't promise an easy life with synchronicity, but confirmation of a psychologically true, if tough, path. Synchronicity often ties to forgiveness, not canned or forced, but real, dissolving guilt and freeing energy trapped in old grudges. Jung saw forgiveness as psychic liberation, not a favor to others. Holding resentment chains your vitality to the person or event that hurt you. Forgiving cuts that toxic tie, redirecting energy to transformation. The hardest forgiveness is self-forgiveness. Your unconscious tracks every self-betrayal, sabotage, or ignored soul call, each a psychic shackle. True self-knowledge means recognizing these silent self-aggressions and choosing forgiveness over eternal self-punishment. Without this, individuation stalls, leaving you pretending strength while your unconscious bleeds. Practically, forgiveness isn't forgetting or justifying. It's acknowledging pain, understanding its psychological impact, learning and moving on without carrying the person or event in your soul's pocket. Jung suggested symbolic acts, unsent forgiveness letters, personal closure rituals, or turning pain into art, poetry, or painting, giving external form to inner knots. Forgiveness isn't weakness, it's personal power, reclaiming your psyche's authority, halting victimhood cycles. While guilt or resentment rules, your purpose suffocates. Forgiveness is radical self-responsibility and a master key to an integrated, less sabotaging unconscious. Those who forgive become catalysts for personal and collective transformation. Realizing your inner work directly aids world transformation, you stop chasing shortcuts or ready-made recipes. Inner work is the only solid path to a genuine purpose and a spiritual awakening that withstands storms. This circles back to pain. The pain you wanted to avoid was always the invitation to this inner and outer revolution. This isn't distant theory, but practical tools to shift how you see pain, patterns, and shadows. Jung didn't write for academics, but for those tired of autopilot, ready to command their lives. The responsibility is yours. Apply this or keep repeating the same story. If this resonated, subscribe and turn on notifications for no-nonsense analytical psychology, self-knowledge, and individuation to build a clearer, purpose-driven life. Thanks for watching.